From a very young age, without realizing it, a seed was planted in you, the belief that you are not enough. This idea wasn't yours to begin with. It was imposed through subtle glances, harsh words, and silent comparisons. You were shaped by a world that taught you to see yourself as broken, flawed, something to be fixed. This conditioning came from school, family, friends, and media, all silently crafting a narrative that who you are is somehow wrong. Alfred Adler, a pioneering psychologist, saw this long before it became a popular conversation. He revealed a fundamental truth. The feeling of inferiority is not inherent to us. It is a product of comparison, unrealistic expectations, and misunderstood failures. You weren't born doubting your worth. You were taught to. And unless you consciously question this belief, you'll stay trapped in a story that was never yours to begin with. Today, we expose that lie. We will look through Adler's lens to understand the origins of the inferiority complex and reveal a path to healing that goes far beyond shallow affirmations. This isn't about fighting yourself. It's about fighting for yourself. Because as long as you believe you are less, the world will treat you as such. But if you're ready to reclaim the power that was always yours, stay with me. Let's unlearn the lie and rebuild your self-worth consciously. At the start of the 20th century, Adler introduced a concept that shook psychology, the inferiority complex. Unlike other thinkers who blamed trauma or fate, Adler claimed that feelings of inadequacy were a natural part of being human. Every child begins life fragile and dependent, acutely aware of their smallness in a vast world. This awareness isn't harmful. In fact, Adler believed it could drive growth. The gap between who we are and who we could be can fuel great ambition and transformation. But this natural drive is easily corrupted. When a child is met with constant criticism, rejection, or impossible expectations, that healthy desire to grow mutates into something darker, a deep conviction that they are not enough. They don't just think they failed, they believe they are a failure. Families and schools often, without realizing it, feed this belief. Comparisons between siblings, harsh words, or even silence in moments of vulnerability plant seeds of shame. Schools reinforce it through constant rankings, tests, and comparisons. Instead of nurturing individuality, the system teaches you to measure yourself by external metrics. Slowly, your value becomes tied not to your character or courage, but to numbers and validation. What should have been a phase of growing up becomes a permanent identity of insecurity and self-sabotage. Adler saw how this identity becomes a cycle. The more someone feels inferior, the more they avoid challenges and hide their vulnerability, which only reinforces their belief that they are incapable. But he also believed the key to breaking this cycle lies in understanding that this feeling was learned. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. Now stop and reflect. What were you taught about yourself? What ideas took root in your childhood and still influence your choices, your fears, your limitations? Recognizing these false beliefs is the first step in dismantling the inner prison. But childhood isn't the only source. Society pours fuel on that fire. The world you live in thrives on your insecurity. From school to media to consumer culture, everything pushes the message that you're not enough. School was just the start, a training ground in comparison. Grades, sports, awards, all told you that you're only valuable when you perform. Then came the media. What should inspire you instead sells you impossible standards of beauty, success, and happiness. Advertisements don't aim to inform. They aim to make you feel inadequate, so you'll buy something to fill the void. And when the purchase doesn't help, the cycle starts again. More doubt, more consumption, more control. Social media made it worse. Now you're constantly comparing not just your life but your pain, your joy, even your healing. You perform for others. You edit your image. Even relationships become contracts of mutual validation, not places of real connection. Adler understood that we are social beings and, therefore, deeply vulnerable to social influence. When society values surface over substance, we wear masks not to protect ourselves from others, but to survive in a world that punishes authenticity. And so, day by day, you're conditioned to feel inferior, not because you are, but because the system needs you to. But Adler offered a way out. He didn't just explain the problem, he pointed to a revolution in perspective. He believed the feeling of inferiority holds the potential for greatness, if we face it honestly. He called this compensation. A weak child can grow strong. A rejected soul can become deeply compassionate, but only if the pain is not denied or masked, only if it's transformed into strength. Many people, Adler warned, avoid this path. Instead of confronting their wounds, they chase success, power, or approval, building fragile masks over deep insecurities. But those masks don't heal. They trap you in a loop of fear and emptiness. Adler's message was clear. It's not inferiority that destroys you. It's how you respond to it. Healing begins when you stop believing that you're a defect to be corrected. As long as that belief lives, even self-improvement becomes an act of self-rejection. The real transformation starts with radical acceptance of your whole self. You are not your flaws. You are the sum of your resilience, your silent courage, your survival. To heal, Adler said, you must take responsibility for your story. Not blame yourself, but choose how to move forward. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop measuring your worth by outside standards. Find meaning not in approval, but in contribution. True confidence grows from service, purpose, and connection. And finally, remember this: no one will rescue you. No title, no achievement, no praise will heal the wound if you still believe you are less. But if you accept yourself fully, light and shadow, you begin to reclaim what was taken from you. You don't need to become someone new. You need to return to the truth of who you were before the world taught you to doubt it. The journey begins now.